Hey, everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I am your host, Chris Bello, and today I've got Sharifah Hardie on the show. Sharifah, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's great to have you here. And you have quite the bio. We were just joking before we hit record that you'd like me to read it because you can't even remember it all. I'm like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. But just so the audience knows who you are, I'll quickly read through your bio. So Sharifah Hardie is a business consultant, author, talk show host, producer at Busy Girl Productions. I like the way busy is spelled, Bizzy. Candidate for 2024 California State Senate District 33, president of the Black Chamber of Commerce, Long Beach area, and an influencer. Sharifah Hardie is host of Ask Sharifah videocast and podcast, as well as the Roundtable Talk Show, which I was on and was amazing. I love the format. Sharifah is the author of Signs You Must Be an Entrepreneur, How to Discover the Entrepreneur in You, and the ebook, Everything You Need to Know About Social Media Marketing. Sharifah was a Long Beach City Council candidate in the 2020 March 3rd primary election and is a diversity, equity, and inclusion expert. She built her first website in 1994. I was 4 years old and has had an online presence ever since. She launched her first radio show in 2009. I graduated high school in 2009 and is passionate about business. You were laid off over 8 times, yet you didn't quit. I love that you didn't quit. And she used the experience and knowledge she gained from working in these companies to benefit the businesses that she now consults. With over 25 years of business experience, Sharifah Hardie has positioned herself to become one of the top executives in entertainment, business, politics, and a person on the rise. I love that. Person on the rise. I heard someone say that lately called, I think, woman or man on the make. Like that's a saying. You're in the process of making yourself, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So definitely quite a bit of accomplishments there. I was like, trying to catch my breath in between, But it's great to have you. Welcome once again. And like I mentioned before we hit record, we can take this any way you'd like to go. Tell us a little bit about maybe your formation story. I know you got laid off 8 times. How was that for you in terms of getting your grit and perseverance muscles flexed?
Oh, it was painful. Definitely painful. It is never fun. In 8 times, I was a .com baby. So I was one of those people that started up perks.com, almost golf.com. I was one of the people who built the website for cheaptickets.com. And there was so much evolution and innovation that was happening during this time frame. But companies would relocate. They would get one round of funding, not receive another round of funding, close their office. So much was going on. And it affected me mentally because, before this era, as we say, so many people never even heard about being laid off. It was 2 things. You either quit or you were fired, and that was it. And so many people didn't understand the emotional toll it takes when you're laid off, because when you're fired, whether you admit it to no one else but yourself, you did something wrong. When you quit, typically you have a plan B. You quit for another reason. You're going back to school. You have another job. You're moving across the country. But there's a choice that you're making to leave that company. When I was laid off, I remember so many times I just received attendance award of the month or employee of the month. I just received my review, received 95%, wonderful high scores. And they walk in and say, well, you know what? This is your last day. Unfortunately, we have to let you go. So it's emotional because you build your whole life based on this job. This is your career. You think you're going to be here forever. And I really did. And so after going through this process, it really devastated me because I didn't want to put the same energy into having a job. I didn't want to give it my all anymore, And so what I wound up doing at least a few times is going back and forth between being an entrepreneur and being an employee. And for me, I always tell people, even though they don't believe it, I loved being an employee. That guaranteed paycheck, direct deposit, knowing what your schedule. Yes, all of that I absolutely loved. When I became an entrepreneur, everything was unsure and unknown, or I might get paid, I might not get paid, I might get the job. And then when I got that job, I'm still might not get paid, so it was so much more responsibility. I had to wear every hat. I'm the janitor, I'm the CEO, I'm the customer service, I'm IT, and it was so many different hats. And so for a long time, I just wanted to get a job, even though I felt that I wasn't going to be hired because people would look at me and go, okay, she job hops. She doesn't stick around at a job for long. And it was until one time I went for an interview and this man took a look at my resume. He's like, wow, you have the resume of an engineer. You have so many diverse skills. And from that point of view, I began to just play up the fact that I had so many different diverse skills. I can build your website. I can network your computers. I went to college to be an accountant. So it's just so many skills that I just utilize as opposed to being afraid of taking that step.
That's such a good point that you mentioned there, that you actually did enjoy being an employee at some cases. Because sometimes I kind of talk down on like, oh, I hated it. I hated my job. I hated having a boss. But you're right that there was the certainty. I do miss those things, the certainty, the benefits, kind of knowing what to expect. But then things have definitely changed over time, where there used to be that loyalty both ways of like, okay, you've been here 20 years, you can retire here. We'll give you that gold watch whenever you go. And now it goes both ways. It's hard to stay committed because you could be doing an amazing job and they just cut you loose for no reason other than the economy's not doing great or they didn't hit their goals in a certain quarter. And so I think that also affects performance because it's so hard to stay motivated and continue showing up at 120% or even at 100% if you're not sure if you're even going to be here in a few months' time, right?
Absolutely.
So, well, that's very cool that you were able to let that experience shape you. And then you also twisted it to starting to embrace the strengths of having such a diverse resume. Instead of thinking like, oh, it looks like I hopped around, you shifted that to look at all the experience that I have and all the things that I can help your organization with.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. And so you also pivoted between entrepreneur and employee a few times. I mean, I definitely had a few times in my career, and I know I'm pretty early on. I just turned 30 last year, and where I was like, should I go back and get a job? Like, should I delete entrepreneur on LinkedIn and find a job? Like, I wasn't making money. And so it can be kind of a stressful thing. So thank you for sharing that as well. I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. So how about what you're up to now? I know you're doing a lot. Obviously, the bio was quite a mouthful. You have accomplished a lot. You have huge goals and aspirations. What's been your biggest challenge this year in 2021 that you're working on overcoming?
Wow, I would probably say 2021 has been the easiest year for me ever. And I really don't say that lightly.
That's great.
But last year in the global, everybody is. It's like we're seeing the blessings in this curse. And so last year was very difficult, trying to be in business and be in the unknown of being in a global pandemic. But this year, because I was able to help so many entrepreneurs with the launch of the Roundtable Talk Show, I meet 5 new guests a day. I make 5 new friends a day. So it's easier for me to maneuver and to get new clients and to create sales than it's ever been, and I don't take it lightly, but I can definitely tell you I've earned more this year than I have probably since the year 2000,
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. And I just shared this. I was on another podcast like an hour ago. I also had my strongest quarter, like Q1 of 2021 has been my best real estate quarter. And so I think you're so right that 2020 caught a lot of people off guard and it was very tough. And some businesses weren't able to pivot in time. But 2021, everything's starting to bounce back. People are optimistic, vaccinations are rolling out and just like positivity and optimism is kind of going up. I think it looks like. And so with that, people are willing to spend money and invest in themselves and in their businesses. And so entrepreneurs can fill in those gaps, provide, solutions to problems, and of course, be rewarded financially as a byproduct of that.
Absolutely. That's what I believe. I've seen it just with the trends. And, when you take a lot of people were laid off for the first time in 2020. They had never had that experience. And when you take away someone's safety net, they're forced through necessity to have to survive. And a lot of people went the entrepreneurial route. And for me, I've been here for 25 years. So I'm used to it and I can assist people along the way. One of the things that I always tell people is I don't always only help people to make money online. I help people to save money online.
Yes.
Because when you're just starting out, people could tell you anything. They'll be like, Chris, you got to get website hosting. It only costs you $5,000. You got to get it. And if you don't know, you're like, well, they said I have to get it. I got to go and get it. And it's so many people that receive incorrect information and they don't. And I'm like, who are you talking to? Who are you listening to? And so I'm able to assist people, and those people wind up becoming clients.
That's really helpful because that is so true. I was guilty of that when I had the job and I had money in the bank and I started doing entrepreneurial things. I was throwing money at everything thinking it was going to solve the problems because I had less time and more money. But then when I quit my job and I had more time and less money because I kind of was spending it a little too, what's the word? Loosely, let's say. I wasn't really vetting things. I'm like, okay, I guess I need that. Okay, let's pay this person. Let's pay this patent attorney to file a patent on something that I am not even working on anymore. It's funny because you kind of part ways with your money very quickly. And so it's very helpful to have an expert who has been there for 25 years. You know, you have so much more experience than someone who's just getting into it and may fall victim to $5,000 here, $10,000 there. Oh, where did all my money go? I got to go back and get a job.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's really cool. So you do a daily talk show. Is that every single day, 7 days a week, or are you doing 5 days a week?
5 days a week. So I have 2 separate talk shows.
Okay.
I have the Roundtable Talk Show, which airs weekdays at 8 a.m. Pacific. And I love the Roundtable Talk Show. I've aired over 200 episodes. It's on every major platform from iTunes to iHeartRadio. And it's just fun because when I first launched it, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out. I have absolutely no idea if this is even going to work or the people going to be like, Sharifah, no. But after 200 episodes, the one thing I can tell you for sure is that we have more in common than we do that's different, you know, because I bring 5 complete strangers from 5 different industries together in an organic roundtable conversation, which are not a lot of people are used to, because usually if they're going to be on a panel or they're going to be a speaker, it's usually around one particular industry. Yes. So you'll have a panel of nurses or a panel of engineers. And so they're all familiar with the topic. And with me, it's like, no, that's boring to me. It's so boring to listen to all the same thing, all the same people with one mindset. And so I love to get different opinions on what's going on in the world. And that's the Roundtable Talk Show. And it really is my passion.
Yeah. And I mean, I can mimic that since I was a guest on your show. I mean, I didn't know what to expect when we first logged on and everyone was logging in and I had no idea who the heck the other people were. But then you introduced everyone and then people started to share. And by the end of it, I know one of the guests mentioned like, you know, Sharifah, this has been amazing. I'd love to connect with everybody on this podcast offline. You know, I want to promote your books and buy your books and be on your podcasts. And I thought that was extremely powerful because you're right that most of the time it's like a real estate panel or what's the outlook of the economy, you know, financial planning or whatever. And here it's a diverse skill set. I think we had a writer on that call, an attorney, a money manager guy, me being in real estate, someone who does like, you know, had a book and does online coaching and speaking. And so you're able to connect with so many amazing people that would otherwise not connect. I mean, if it weren't for the show, I may have met one person maybe at a conference 5 years from now, but maybe I would have never met any of them.
Right. And that's what people enjoy. And it's to me, and it seems so simple, but it's one of the things that really surprised me, how many people connected with each other. By the end of the show, people are like, well, I want to connect with you. What's your LinkedIn? What's your Instagram? What's your Twitter? And everybody just connects. And I think that is so powerful. And it just makes me feel good. I remember one show, this was maybe 2 or 3 months after I had launched the show, when I was still feeling a little nervous, like, oh my God, how is this going to work out? And I remember I had this show where one woman suffers from bipolar and schizophrenia, and she was writing this book and she wanted to help other people who were going through the same thing. And then I had another lady who I just felt was so corporate. When I, you know, because I do the pre-show, because I really try to get a feel for the guests, make them feel comfortable. We're all here. And this lady gave me nothing. You know, I asked her a question. Yes. No, you know, and she was just like very corporate. That's the only thing I can say. But when we started the show and the lady who was suffering from schizophrenia, she just started talking and sharing her story. And I was still a little nervous. I was like, oh God, how is this going to work out? Right. And so then all of a sudden, I didn't even ask a question or answer. The lady who was corporate just started talking. She was like, my cousin has schizophrenia and I understand. And as a family, and then they talked for like the next hour. And I was like, how did that happen? But it was after that show. That was the one show that really did it for me, where I was like, you know what? This is going to be a good thing. It's going to work out. Everything is going to be okay. Because if two people from just drastic different personality types can sit and have a conversation and be empathetic and compassionate and talk to each other, I was like, everything else is going to be okay.
And one thing I remember you mentioned at the beginning, you're like, I don't have a set thing. Like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I just kind of let it roll and see what happens. I thought that was super interesting because I guess you're kind of curating the group and you're putting the people together, making connections, and the rest kind of happens organically. And we talked about a couple of different things, and we brought it back to, overcoming money beliefs or, disempowering beliefs that we may have around money, for example. And so it's really interesting because you really never know, with such a diverse background of different people from different places, that like one girl was from Australia, I believe, and had a hard upbringing. And then me, I'm like, oh, I'm from Texas, went to Catholic school, like totally different. Like I never got beat up at school, no bullies at my school. They got kicked out early on for bad grades.
Yes.
But I really noticed that about you, that you're very good at connecting. And I'm sure that's gone a long way just in your business in general. Because when you go out there and you enable other people and give them a platform and just connect the dots in some cases, that establishes you as an expert, because everyone's going to say, gosh, I made this amazing relationship and it was all because of your talk show in the roundtable that we were able to make that. And so now, you're kind of, the reciprocity loop is open where they feel like, okay, let me see how I can help Sharifah out down the road because she just helped me gain a new client or a new business relationship or whatever the case may be.
Yes. And it helps because, my whole brand is Ask Sharifah. Yeah. And people are like, what do you think? You know everything? And I'm like, no, but I know that if I don't know, I know someone that does. And so that's the biggest thing. That's why even on my website, it says I am the go-to resource for entrepreneurs. That's what I pride myself in, is being a resource for entrepreneurs. So no, I don't know it all, but talk to Chris. Chris is the person I think will be able to help you. So I do a lot of referrals. That's my primary business. So when I need something or I want something, people like, oh yeah, let me answer Sharifah's call. Because when Sharifah calls, it's money calling. It's a lead. I'm basically a lead for people. And that's why I love to know what people do, so I know who to send that business to.
And that's incredible because, I hear real estate agents, I'm in real estate, for example, they have the corniest line, but it's true. It's like the best compliment I can receive is a referral, because yes, it's great to give me a 5-star review. It's great to do this, but like really, if you give someone a referral, that is feeding their family. That's putting, money in their business for the future marketing endeavors or plans. And so I truly agree that while it is a corny line, that is one of the best compliments or gestures you can give, is to refer business to someone else, because that also shows that you trust them, that that the person, probably a friend or family member, or somebody that well, you want them to have a good experience. And so you wouldn't just refer them to someone who you didn't vet, at least to some extent. So you are a massive connector for sure.
Thank you. I love to connect people. That's just what I do. But I also learned that from people giving me referrals. To this day, the majority of my business comes to me through referrals. It's very difficult to fill 5 shows a week, 5 guests per day. That's 25 people a week that I have on the show, 100 guests per month that I talk to. And it's not easy, but the majority of the people who come on the show are referrals. And one thing that happened that I wasn't expected, that I was so grateful for, is that I launched the show in March of 2020. And so I had different guests. And then January of 2021, I started receiving all these emails from PR representatives saying, I know you had Chris on the show last year, but do you want to have him again this year? So all of a sudden, people just started filling these spaces. So for me in business, it's just referrals. And 9 times out of 10, what happens is my phone will ring. I'll get a call from someone, and they always start off the same way. They go, well, I'm not exactly sure what you do, but Chris said I had to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. then I just like, okay, well, tell me about you. Tell me about what you're doing, what you're going through. And then we just start the conversation and I find the need that they have. And usually either I can solve it or someone within my network can solve the problem that they have.
That's a very powerful takeaway. And I'll usually make that call to action as well. I'm not just like, hey, only talk to me if you need real estate help. I'm like, hey, I'd love to talk about anything that I know about. I love productivity. If you want to talk about certain apps that are coming out, technology, automation, let's talk. Let me see how I can help you. Because if I help them with this 15-minute thing that's totally unrelated to real estate, 2 months later, they may send me a real estate referral because they know I'm helpful. I know what I'm talking about. And I may have competency in a certain area. So it sounds like that's what you've been doing as well, just from being the person that people are like, I need to ask Sharifah. They talk to you, they ask you certain questions, you help fill in the gaps and make connections. And then, of course, whenever the phone rings, it's money on the line. And if you can direct it to someone else, then you can be sure that they're going to direct something your way as well in the future.
Absolutely. It's reciprocal. And that's what I love. And I think as a society, that's what we're learning. We're moving away from the I and me towards the us and we. And that's where yes. I want to be.
I love that, towards the us and we, because you truly have to be a giving person. You give what you'd like to receive, right? I always think about the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. That is so true, because if you put out good vibes and good energy and good gestures without expecting anything in return, it can be difficult, right? Because you don't want to be keeping tabs on all the things you've done and what people owe you. But if you do that, which can be difficult at first, especially as a new entrepreneur who's not making money, it starts to come back tenfold. And I mean, the abundance that we're probably both seeing right now, right? Our best year so far, 2021 has been amazing. I feel bad almost saying it because I'm like, look, I know people are still struggling, but I'm having my best year ever. And I'd love to help anyone else who wants to join me on this journey. Here's a link to book a call to talk about. I literally say that in my email, for example, and I know you have a similar thing, is click this link, book a call. We could talk about anything, like anything at all. If I don't know it, I know someone who does. And if I don't know, I'll find someone who does and make sure that I give them, send their information your way.
Yes, I feel bad at the people that we lost. We lost so many people. Just about everyone I know has had some form of loss in their life. But what I love, and I always consider it a blessing in every curse, is that so many people use this as an opportunity to reinvent themselves. You had more authors that were created in 2020 than I think any other year in the history of the earth. Okay. Yeah. You have people who took the time to write that script for the movie they want to produce. You have people who reconnected with their family. There are so many people who took the time to learn new languages, to learn new skills. And just about every online course was free. I mean, you could learn any lesson or trade at no cost. So if you use this time to better yourself, then I believe you came out ahead, and people receive stimulus money. People receive PPP money. They receive money to be able to invest in themselves. And if they use that money wisely and actually invest in 2021, they will begin to reap the benefits for everything that they lost in the past.
Absolutely. And I mean, I definitely don't want to downplay the lives lost or any of the negative things, the jobs lost. I mean, there's a lot of negatives, but I think a lot of people like to focus, especially the news. I don't even ever watch the news. They only highlight the negatives. You might hear like 2 seconds of good stuff and then all the bad things and the one person who died in like some small part of like Cambodia or something, right? You're like, oh my gosh, like that's horrible. I can't believe that happened. And so it's important for all of us, listening to the show, and entrepreneurs especially, have your mental space and your mental health. Really take care of that. Focus on the positive stuff. There's going to be, I think 2020 also opened our eyes that tomorrow is not guaranteed or promised. We all take everything for granted. I, myself especially, I'm like, I'm 30, I'm healthy, I'm going to live till I'm 100. Nothing could kill me. But like, honestly, a bus could hit me tomorrow and that could be the end of Chris Bello, right? Right. And so you want to make sure that we're making as much impact every single day, which I know we're doing 5 times a week. You're talking to so many entrepreneurs. By the way, the logistics of that seems like it's insane to coordinate.
No, it's not. That's the thing. It's so easy. It is so amazing. Simple. I have my Calendly. I love my Calendly. I don't know where I would be without my Calendly. That is the cure all. If Calendly goes out of business, I might have to be a little afraid because I don't even want to start looking for something new. But I automate. And that's the one thing that I learned from being a .com baby. You have to automate. With innovation comes automation. And if you're not automating your processes and your procedures, you're wasting a lot of time, manual labor that you can be doing other things. And it helps me because people will tell me all kind of stuff. Oh, Sharifah, I'm supposed to be on your show today, but for some reason I didn't receive the Zoom link. Okay, well, let me check. I don't have you scheduled, because if you were scheduled, you would have the Zoom link. Everything is automated. And it's so funny because it makes some people nervous. And some people actually get an attitude with me, believe it or not. I remember one guy who just kind of went off on me. Most of my shows are booked 2 months in advance. And so from the day people book their show, they never hear from me again until it's time to do the show. And this one guy, I remember, it was so funny to me. And he sends me this email, because I sent out the reminder email automatically the day before the show. Hey, Chris, just a reminder, you're scheduled for the show tomorrow. So this guy got the reminder, and he sends me this email like, you never followed up. I never heard from you. I made other plans because I didn't think this was happening. This is no way to operate, whatever. So I was like,
like, dude, it was on your calendar.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, what more do you want from me? But for me, I love the ability to just kind of brush it off and not worry about it. And that's why I started the whole idea of having 5 guests, because I launched my first radio show as Sharifah Radio in 2009. And from 2009 until 2020, I've done a million different variations of that show. Let's talk about business, me and co-host, the whole 9. And what I found with one-on-one interviews is that people flake. You know what I mean? Life happens. And I'm stuck. I've done all this marketing. I've done all this promotion. I've advertised that they're going to be on the show. It comes time to do the show and they don't show up. And so I'm stuck to either, I have to talk for an hour to kill an hour because I said I was going to have a show, or sometimes I would just cancel it all together. And that's not good for me and my marketing and my brand and my consistency. So I said, you know what? I'm going to invite 5 people to the party. And then if a couple of people don't show up, I still have 2 or 3. And usually I don't have less than 3 people show up for a show. So between 3 guests and myself, we can talk for an hour. So the people who don't make the show, I don't worry about it. I have people who no call, no show all the way through. And then 3 days later, I get an email. Oh my gosh, Sharifah, I missed it. I was on the flight. And I said, you know what? No problem.
It's okay.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. We had a wonderful show. Feel free to come on. I don't hold grudges, because I just I'm a free spirit. Like, that's how I live my life. I don't even like schedules. Like, people will call me or message me, especially on LinkedIn. Let's not even talk about that. But I'll accept a connection request. And then they'll say, hi, Sharifah, I do this, I do that. Let's schedule a conversation. And I'm like, what are we talking about? Why am I scheduling a call to talk to someone I don't know, to get to know them? It's like, I need a little bit more massaging than that.
Yeah.
So I try to keep my calendar free just for opportunities like this, because we didn't schedule this interview months ago or 2 months ago. I saw an opportunity. I was like, oh, Chris has a show. I want to be on his show. So I was like, Chris, how do I get on your show? He's like, you want to be on the show? Let's do a show. But if my day was so booked with appointments and schedules, and I wouldn't be productive. I love to just have the freedom to go and do whatever I want to go and do, and take advantage of opportunities such as this.
I love that. And whenever I sent the link too, I had no idea I was going to see you book the next day. I was like, okay, she's ready to go. I thought it might be a couple months out, or, because a lot of people book out pretty quickly. But the same thing, just like you mentioned, people flake. I had a 2-hour block this morning where I was going to go on someone's show, take a 10-minute break, and then go on. They were going to come on my show, but I guess he wasn't feeling well. He was feeling ill. So he rescheduled it. And I just saw on my calendar, event canceled, rescheduled, moved to April. I never even had to send an email. He knew, I knew, everyone's happy. My schedule opened up. So I had 2 hours more to do whatever I want. And I love what you said about being a free spirit, because I operate the same way. I love having the ability to be like, when that thing opened up, I went and got lunch with my brother and my girlfriend. My brother's in town visiting. I was like, let's go get brunch and just relax. And I have nothing until 1 o'clock, whereas I was going to have an 11 to 1. And so when you roll with the punches and you don't get sad or offended, I'm not like, oh my gosh, he canceled today, the day of. You're just, okay, whatever. It's all good. I'm going to talk to Sharifah later. It's going to all be better.
See, that's why everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. It's that spirit of just, going with the flow. I love that. I really do. And the reason I keep my calendar open aside from that is that I can change my mind in a minute. Like, yes. I don't know if it's because I'm a woman or what, but like one day I'll be like, oh, I want to do this. I want to have this appointment. I got to have this meeting. And then it comes time to do that meeting. And Chris has called and Chris is like, Sharifah, let's do lunch. And I'll be like, meeting, lunch, lunch. All of a sudden that meeting's gone. So I try to do things and set them up immediately so I can get them done and move forward with my life. That's usually my goal. Like, let me just move forward with my life and just enjoy it.
Definitely. And one thing that you mentioned as well is Calendly, some sort of booking tool. I use Calendly and it's honestly changed the game for me because you can set rules in place. And I've talked about this on my show before. It's so easy. And I got to tell you, my conversion rates have gone up from, the conversations on LinkedIn. Oh, we should connect sometime. Let's find time to chat. I'm like, here you go. Find a time. Here's my link. And if you can't find a time right now and you don't want to meet with me, I understand. That's fine. But we can no longer make that excuse of, oh, we got to find a time, because that just means like, oh, well, we'll hang out someday. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Here's the link. Lunch. Book it now. If it's 3 weeks out, at least it's on the calendar, right? And that's extremely powerful for making sure you're automating and you're not wasting time worrying about, can you do tomorrow at this time or the next day?
Right.
Pick a time. My availability is on there. My calendar's updated. It's just such a game changer.
Yes, but Calendly, I love that because one of the things that happened during this global pandemic is all of a sudden you see so many more companies say, oh, well, don't use Zoom, use us. We can do this and you can read the comments and, all of that. It has a pretty picture, leave Zoom. And I said, I love Zoom because it integrates with Calendly and Calendly integrates with Stripe. So I can do everything all at once, have somebody go schedule a show, and I don't even have to do anything. I just get an email. Chris has scheduled his appearance on the Roundtable Talk Show. I know Chris has his Zoom link. My other show, Ask Sharifah Videocast and Podcast, which is a one-on-one interview where I sit down with entrepreneurs pretty much like this. But because it's one-on-one, I want to guarantee my guest appears. So there's a production fee for that show. So they go to Calendly, they pay the production fee, they receive the Zoom link. My job is the talent. That's what I tell people. And I don't say that from an egotistical point of view. One of the things I learned prior to all this automation is that because I was doing so much and running around like a chicken with his head cut off, by the time it came to do the show, I'd be like,
you'd be burnt out.
Joining me. And I'm like, no. I need the energy to be able to have the best show ever.
Absolutely. And you hear things like Mark Zuckerberg or, Steve Jobs wearing the same thing every day because we get decision fatigue. And that really rings true for what you just said, because imagine if we were still having to schedule stuff and email the link and remember, oh, I forgot to tell her about the show that's happening in 1 hour. She doesn't have the link. Like, we don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. It's like, here, book a time. Calendly automatically adds it to Google Calendar, sends a reminder. You have a 24-hour heads up. And it's just incredible because all you got to do is show up, lights, camera, action, log in. And we're full of energy because we didn't just spend 40 minutes figuring out how to get on this call. It was set in stone automatically when you booked it. And so, just props. I got to get the CEO of Calendly on here or something, because I've honestly said so much business. We both probably have their way. But that's also a testament to the fact that if you make a great product that works well, people are going to spread your message via word of mouth. So
yes, I love
Calendly.
yes. I'm holding on to everything with my business. Calendly is holding my business together. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. And they go away, which I don't see them. More and more people are using them. If anything, I keep seeing more people sending me Calendly links to book events as well. But I don't know what I would do. That's for sure.
Okay. So we're not going to have a whole show about Calendly, but I just had to say this. Don't you feel more reassured when you go to meet with someone and they send you their Calendly link? Like if I get a Calendly link, I know for a fact
they're on top of it.
Right. Because if they want me to be a guest on their show and they send me an email, it's like, Sharifah, can you send us your photo and a bio? I'm like, what? No Calendly? Like what kind of show is this?
Someone did that once. They messaged me and they copied like my favorites when they copy like 3 people, like one's an assistant. I'm like, who the heck are all these people? And he's like, hey, so-and-so is going to help us schedule a date. What's a good time? Are you available? The lady literally replied, when are you free next week? Like this day or this day. And I was like, here's my link. You guys should use Calendly, by the way, and book a time. And it was so much easier. But you're right that I do feel more comfortable when someone sends me the link, because I did send someone, I was supposed to have a call with him today, and I sent him my link. He booked a call, and it was a no call, no show. It was on the calendar, showed that he accepted it, but he must have forgotten or something. And so I'm like, okay, well, it was just a 15-minute call. I kind of went and got a bite to eat before our call, and I didn't let it faze me. He probably forgot. But at the same time, if he sent me the link, I'd feel more comfortable that he's going to be there on the call, right? He's not going to forget. And I don't know, maybe he uses a handwritten calendar instead of Google Calendar.
I don't know.
I'm not sure what the case may be, but in any case, automation, I think, not just talking about Calendly, but automation has definitely helped a lot of entrepreneurs come a long way, because you're not worrying about all the little day-to-day stuff. Is there anything else in terms of automation that's really been a game changer for you in your business?
Let me just see, because I automate everything.
I'd love to hear another automation tip, because I came across Zapier, if you've heard of that, and that's been pretty cool too.
Now, what's funny, and again, not to make this show about Calendly, but the only time I use Zapier is about a year ago to get Calendly to integrate with MailChimp.
That's what I use it for too.
But then now Calendly integrates directly with MailChimp. So I no longer need Zapier. So I was like, okay, yes, MailChimp is one of the things I use, not necessarily automation, but it's one of the benefits of having so many guests on the show, is because there's no charge for that show. They come on, they give me their email address. I give them an audience. And so now I just build my mailing list. So whenever I get a bee in my bonnet and I just want to express myself and talk about something, MailChimp. So I always tell people one of the most important ways to build your business is a newsletter. You have to have some way for people to learn your voice and your product, who you are. One of the biggest mistakes, and I'm going in a different direction, not that this is the question.
Oh, we can go in any direction.
I'm like, this just came to me.
This. I use MailChimp too, and I didn't even know you could integrate directly from Calendly. So I'm like, I've been using Zapier to tie the two together.
I was too. Yes, they upgraded. So now Calendly talks to MailChimp. And so one of the biggest mistakes that I see new entrepreneurs make is that they're so afraid to talk about their business. And they come to me and they say, Sharifah, everybody says social media works and everybody says online advertising works. I haven't made a sale. This doesn't work. It sucks. And I go, well, let me take a look at your website. Let me take a look at your social media. And I go to their social. They don't post. It's no post, or the only thing they post is unicorns and butterflies. And I'm like, that has absolutely nothing to do with your business. So when you're serious about your business, you'll post on social media, as well as have a newsletter, because you want to stay in front of people. Most people, it takes them at least 8 times before they even recognize your business. So what people do is, or like when people want to promote their book, I speak to a lot of authors and I go to their social media and it will be, they released their book in March of 2019. And for the next 2 years, there's no post. And I'm like, well, what happened to, you talking about this book? And they go, well, I posted it. Okay.
Yeah, like once, twice, 2 years ago.
It's like, you have to talk, you have to continue. I can guarantee you, on all my social media platforms, people know what I do. They may not know exactly what I do, exactly every aspect of it, but they know I'm a talk show host. They know I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like 99% business. That's just my personality. There was even a meme one time that a lot of us were sharing. It was like, the entrepreneur wishes they could shut down their social media, but it's bad for business, and that's me. It's like I talk about business. I post about business, but when you go to my social media, it's clear on who I am and what I do.
Absolutely. I wanted to pull up this message that a friend just texted me yesterday on Instagram Messenger. And I was just replying to a story like saying, it's good to see you posting your walkthroughs of these real estate investments that he's been doing. He finally started making posts, but it's just walking through. It's not him. He's not talking. And he said, I had a realization I need to be more active on social media. I have limiting beliefs, but I need to get over them. Social media is very powerful, and you're a prime example of that. Love what you're doing, brother. So
Aww.
yeah, I was like, that's so nice because he's still a little nervous of putting the camera on him and talking to the camera and, having him on the spotlight. But I told him it's going to be a little weird at first. You're not going to like your voice. You're going to think you come across weird. But as you do it more, it becomes more comfortable. You find your voice. You find your letters and things that you want to type in your newsletter. And people love to see that stuff because otherwise, how are they going to know that you have a talk show? How are they going to know you have a podcast if you never post anything, right?
Right.
So it's extremely important.
It's extremely important, but I just always recommend that you fall in love with your business over and over and over and over again. And if you're someone who's ever been in love, what is it the one thing you want to do? Just want to talk about it. I'm telling you, Chris, you know what I'm talking about. You ever have that friend that just got into a new relationship and you like,
all you can hear about is that. I'm like, okay, give it a couple of years and then you're going to be like, all right, that's great. But all right, what's next?
Yes. So that's how I think about it in business. Like fall in love with your business.
I love that.
Talk about what you love about your business, because that's what we do in relationships. Oh, she's so funny. He's so wonderful. He has the best teeth. You know what I mean? But you find those specific things that you like about that person and you just tell the world, you just scream from the mountaintops about this new love. So I like people to do that in terms of business. Fall in love and tell the world all the things that you love about your business. When you do that, the things that irritate you, you don't feel comfortable, eventually they'll fall away or they really don't matter. One of the things that surprises people about me, I can't even tell you how many shows I've done. I've done over 200 episodes of just the Roundtable Talk Show, probably another 300 episodes of Ask Sharifah Videocast and all the other shows. I mean, we're probably looking at about 1,000 episodes. From day one, I cannot stand the sound of my voice. I think my voice is like, all over the place half the time. And I never listen to my shows, but it doesn't stop me. I just go in, have fun, have a good time, and just enjoy the show.
I totally agree with you on that. And it's funny, I'm in a couple podcaster groups and I'll see that same thing. Like, any tips for if you don't like your voice and you're making a podcast? It's like someone mentioned that, just record it and release it. You don't have to listen to it. Of course, if you like your own voice, someone commented on there, am I crazy because I like my own voice? But just publish content constantly. You've got to get your message out there. And we're all going to have things that we don't like about ourselves. I can't grow a full beard. I'm full disclosure, like I got this little thing going on, but I
like it. It makes you look younger. The more hair you have, so
older.
I like that. I'm like, you look like 22, 23.
Thank you. I know, right? So this was like me when I don't have this, I look like I'm 16. So at least I look like I'm 22 now, which is great. I didn't get ID'd the other day, but my girlfriend did. That's kind of funny. So I just turned 30 and I'm like, okay, my ID, I've been out of college for years now, but in any case, I love what you're talking about here in terms of just like constantly adding value, connecting. I mean, the talk show, consistency. Clearly, you've done a lot of podcast episodes. Automation, that's another huge key takeaway. And I think that another takeaway here is that over time, as you've done all these different shows, you've connected with people, you've done different things with your business and personal life. You've stacked those skills, right? You've learned, okay, Zapier integrates these two things, but now there's a direct integration from Calendly to MailChimp. And so that's something like I just learned something new right there because I was kind of using the Frankenstein model when now I can go direct. But I mean, automation is just the way to get to the next level, in my opinion, along with connections, because you can't just automate or outsource that. You and I talking right now, I can't click two buttons and have it automatically finish this 1 hour conversation.
Right. That's why I'm selective, though, with the conversations that I have.
Yes.
When I first had you on the show, I really like your personality. I like upbeat, high energy people who have something to say. And I like your personality. I actually stopped doing interviews because my schedule was just so booked when I started doing interviews. And now I'm a lot more selective, and I get invited to do a lot more interviews than I did before. But I just use that time that I have more selectively, and then automate everything else that I don't want to say I don't want to do, but I don't have to do.
Exactly. And that is the true definition of freedom and entrepreneurship, is, to me, being able to be in full control of your time. It's not even all about the money. It's about being able to control your time and have the freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do, right?
Yes. And that's why people, I mean, I don't know, where are you located, Chris?
I actually just relocated to Denver, Colorado from Houston, Texas, like not even a full week ago. Actually, I think a week ago and a day ago. Yeah.
Okay. Because we're going to have to get you down to LA. You're going to have to meet some.
I'm down.
Come down here, because everybody around me is like, sure. I'm like this anomaly for people. I love convenience. Everything I do is convenience, from Postmates to my laundry delivery. Everything is about convenience. And my dad and I have this conversation all the time. He's like, Sharifah, you could have cooked that. Okay. But I've learned the value of my time. That's what it comes down to me, is just learning the value of my time. And I spend a lot of time speaking to people. As a business consultant, I need the time to be able to sit down and have these conversations, to get to know you, who you are and what you do, so I can make my referrals. So, okay, do I want to take that time making this 1 hour dinner, or do I want to go do laundry? No, what I want to do is I'm the talent.
You want to find the talent.
So I enjoy it. Yes, I am the talent. So that's just kind of my beliefs. Automation and convenience for a happier Sharifah.
We talked about that a little bit too on the Roundtable show, that a lot of people are going to say that's a waste of time or money. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you paid $13 for that thing at the restaurant. Why don't you just make it yourself? Right. And when you know the value of your time and what are the things that light you up, you do more of that. Like, what are the things you don't want to do? You don't want to do laundry. You don't want to cook or clean. You can easily outsource all of that. Others may see that as a waste of money, that you could save money. I'm using air quotes for everyone watching, by doing those things yourself. But you and I have discovered that if we love talking to people and finding talent or providing talent on other conversations, that's where our time is best spent. And we enjoy it as well. The stuff I love to eat, yes. I don't like to cook or do dishes, right?
Right. Especially the dishes. Like I don't have this problem with the cooking, but I'm like, I do not want to watch these dishes. And I look at it as time is the only thing that's priceless. Time is the only thing that you cannot get back. So when people are just looking at, you can save $2. Like people who go from, grocery store to grocery store to grocery store to save 20 cents when you just use $10 worth of gas, it's like, okay, but you were in the store. Why not just get everything, But I just look at it like, okay, something is priceless, and then something requires saving a little bit of money. And I just rather save the time. But that's just me. The world according to Sharifah.
I think that makes sense. That word makes total sense. Did you say the word or the world?
Both. It's the word of Sharifah, the world of Sharifah. It's the same thing. I give you the word today.
I am totally on board with the word of the world and the word of Sharifah, because I agree completely. And it took a little bit of a mindset shift to really get to that level of like, okay, I should pay $5 more to get my Chipotle delivered. Even though I'm like, oh, that's like a waste of $5. I could go pick it up. Still, now you shift your mindset. I'm saving 30 minutes of me getting in the car and going and picking it up, so I can continue a conversation like this, get it delivered, jump on another conversation right after, right? So you're buying yourself time back when you outsource all these different things. And it's a different way of looking at it. Instead of spending money, you're investing it to buy yourself time, because like you mentioned, that is the only thing we can't generate more of, at least at this time. If someone develops a time machine, great. But right now, like, time's ticking, we can't get this time back.
Right. But then also one of the things that I look at is two different things. I'm glad you made that example that affect me. So where you are, there's plenty of space. In Long Beach, California, there's absolutely no parking. There's nowhere to park. So I hate to move. I don't like to use that word hate. It's strong, but I hate to move my car. Once my car is parked, it's going to be there, So now if I'm going to go to Chipotle, I love Chipotle, by the way, especially when I'm on my weight loss, because I can turn any burrito into a salad and it really works for me. But that's another tip for the people who trying to learn different things, make it into a salad. But now I have to get up, lose my parking space, drive all the way to Chipotle. It takes me 30 minutes of my time. And guess who I just cut out? I didn't cut out eating. I didn't cut out Chipotle. I just cut out the driver who might need that money to pay their bills. So I would rather boost the economy. And that's how I look at it. Like, no, I just helped that driver out.
I love that. That's another paradigm shift, because it is so many people go into contraction mode, which I think is why a lot of the trouble was happening, obviously, in 2020 is like, oh, everyone's having this fear of the unknown. Let's stop spending money. Even I think the stimulus money, I think I heard that like a pretty good percentage of it was actually saved instead of just spent. But then that affects all the small mom and pop stores, the drivers. People are cooking at home maybe more than ordering out, at least when things kicked off last year. And that driver's now affected because they're not getting as much business, or, you know, the store that you were going to buy that coffee, they're not getting any clients through the door. And so when you look at it like that, you're helping other business owners. And we know, we've been, small business owners. We understand that we don't want to ask for discounts from people who are adding value. We understand their value. We want to reward them for the value they provide. But sometimes we got to educate our clients who may not necessarily understand, right, the value that we can bring to them, especially if they maybe have a job mentality of, oh, this is how much things cost per hour. I only get paid $20 an hour. Why would I pay you $1,000 for a 2-hour seminar? It doesn't make sense. You're making too much money.
Right. I definitely agree. This has been great. I've enjoyed sitting here talking to you, Chris.
I have as well. And we're already at the end of the time. It's been, we haven't had a chance to ask Sharifah everything, but we did dive into a lot of great information. I guess my final question would be, what's your main focus for 2021, or even for your business? Like, are you mainly looking to connect with amazing individuals? I know you're a connector, you're a people person. What would you say your main focus is for this year?
Same as every year. I got to take over the world. No, I'm just kidding.
I love it.
Helping people. I cannot oversimplify. I was raised in Columbus, Ohio. I always tell people I'm a simple country girl. I love to help people. I love to help entrepreneurs. I love to build businesses. Small businesses are the heart of America. That's it. What happens when your heart stops, right? You die.
Yes, you're dead.
So I want to get our heart beating back in America and focus on helping entrepreneurs and small business owners be successful. That is my continuing primary goal.
That is so powerful. And I love how you gave that example. What happens when the heart stops beating? Bad things happen. And so we need to keep the heartbeat going, support other businesses, support small businesses. And even through mentoring, if you can coach someone who's starting a business and that saves their business or keeps them in business longer, that is even going a long way, not just having to support them via giving them money or donations, but also giving your knowledge and time. And so thank you really for all of that information, Sharifah. It's been amazing having you on the show and connecting with you again, and learning a little bit about automation and your experience and just what you're up to next. And everybody, make sure to go check out Sharifah's show. I'll put everything in the show notes. But Sharifah, where's the best place for everyone to go and find you and learn more about you?
I tell people I'm one of the easiest people to find. You can Google me, Sharifah Hardie, or just visit my website, AskSharifah.com, on every social media platform, Sharifah Hardie. And I always tell people, whatever the question is, maybe you just want to run an idea by somebody or what they thought about this, do not feel bad. Just ask Sharifah.
I love that. Thank you so much, Sharifah. Once again, it's been a pleasure. And I will share all the information and tag you on social media as soon as this episode goes live.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.